I'd just like to conclude the webinar really by asking you all for your closing thoughts on the CO2 market, on the trends and the opportunities ahead. Perhaps we'll do a round robin here. We'll start with you, Jesper.
Right. I can only concur with my fellow colleagues today and say that we all have an obligation to reduce emissions in whichever way we can and at whichever level we can. Even small levels are today, small streams make a big river at the end.
Very good sentiment. I like that. And we'll come to you, Alfonso. Is it much the same for you?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time for CO2 utilization, distribution, and so on. We're seeing many new applications for CO2, both in the using and the recovering. So I think a lot of technology will emerge, and a lot of new markets will get positioned around the utilization and recovery of CO2. So I think, yeah, we're coming to a point where a lot of small production is becoming, or may become the norm later on. But okay, we still have to pay attention to the large sources of CO2 in any case.
Sure, thanks very much. And Chris, you've got a very broad outlook or perspective here. You've explained much of that. What are your closing thoughts, and do you think we'll still be vulnerable to some shortages in the market for the next few years?
Yeah, we're going to always be vulnerable, and I guess my closing remark would be that could get worse depending on how things develop with carbon capture and sequestration, as I said. So I think as an industry, we need to watch that very closely, and we need to keep a really open mind. We've had the luxury of being able to pick and choose the sources that we use in our industry for production of CO2 up to now, but that low-hanging fruit has gone away, and some of that will disappear coming forward. We've seen issues in the past where the ammonia industry has economic challenges and they shut down in some regions, and it's created big shortages in those regions. Same thing with bioethanol and instability in that industry. When they close down plants, all of a sudden we see, supply shocks in our industry. So for the benefit of our industry and the health of our industry, we really need to keep our mind open and look scientifically and not emotionally at these new alternative sources, and really try to, instead of just pushing them off, we need to try to embrace them and understand how we can use them, not why we shouldn't use them, so that we can stabilize that supply base in our industry. Because if people have the choice, if there are people out there that use CO2 for chilling and freezing applications, and when they have supply shocks, the first thing they do is they look at nitrogen as a product and they move to nitrogen. And we don't want people to move away from our industry. We want people to stay there. There are some that are captive that don't have alternatives like carbonated soft drinks and that sort of thing. But we need to embrace alternative sources. We need to look at them scientifically. We need to figure out ways that we can apply these sources and make them useful for our industry. And we need to start bringing them online.